Welcome back, everyone, to the Awful Takes podcast. Another album review today. Hello, my name is Nabahi.
Hello, I'm Wallied from Sir Gator Productions.
This is the show where we talk about movies and music. And for me specifically, I don't know what I'm talking about. I may sound like I do, but I don't. So I quantify everything I say as an awful take.
Fair enough.
So yeah, take that with a grain of salt when you're hearing me. But today we were talking about a special little album for me called Red Hearse, self-titled album, and a self-titled group that kind of came out of nowhere. It consists of 3 people. You have Sam Dew with an amazing vocal melodies and performance on this album. You have Sounwave, which is a very well-known producer, beat maker, stuff like that. Well-known artist. And
works with Kendrick a lot. Yep. Great producer.
And we have Jack Antonoff,
one of the most famous producers
right now. Won Producer of the Year 2 years in a row.
Crazy.
However, this came out at an interesting time. It was 2019. We were kind of on the uptick with Jack Antonoff as a producer. You know, we were very close. Obviously, he had won Grammys before for some of his work with Taylor Swift, but I feel like we weren't quite to the point where he is now with, I feel like we were right on the cusp when Folklore followed up by Midnights came out to where he is now. I feel like now he's in a different discussion of, is he really worth all the fame? You know, I feel like that's kind of what I hear a lot with his name now. This was on the uprise to that. Whether or not you agree with his production or anything like that, I get him. I get it. Like, he can be kind of like a polarizing name now. But for me, he came on the map with his first band called Steel Train, which eventually kind of morphed into Bleachers, which was a very big thing for me. Nice. And it got me to kind of follow him for a bit. And I guess that is kind of how I stumbled upon this record. Very interesting. I was at a low point in my life at around this time this album came out. I was searching for something to guide me through this dark time. And I'm not trying to say this album is that or anything, but it definitely helped me. Mm-hmm. At this time, I was just lost and I didn't know where exactly I was going to end up. And I remember getting onto YouTube. This is one of the very few times that YouTube recommendations have actually done me a favor. Out of nowhere, I just see one of my top recommendations is this album, and specifically the first single of it called Half Love. And I just remember seeing the image of like this like moon in this like car, and I was like, what is that? That looks weird. And which is the album cover. And then I clicked on it and I just got taken for a ride. So yeah, this is just for me a very underrated project. This is something that I now as I'm doing DJing and stuff, I will always throw in a couple songs from this. And just to gauge the reaction, normally a lot of people will ask me like what this song is or what am I playing, you know? For everyone who I've recommended music from this, they kind of are like, wow, this is really good. Yet I go on their Spotify, not a lot of listeners, you know? Like
surprisingly,
this project is very forgotten about. And this project taught me a very valuable lesson as a music fan. Now, whenever album vinyls go up for pre-order, I don't wait. I buy them, okay? I don't know what it was with this album. I loved the songs, and I was just like, yeah, I'll wait a little bit. I just didn't buy the vinyl right away. And I forever regret that decision because now I can't find it anywhere without it costing a grip of money. So we'll get into it. I guess, Wallied, you know Sounwave, you know Jack Antonoff. Had you heard of this before when I kind of threw the name out there?
I had actually never heard of this before until you mentioned it. So it was a big surprise to me that these guys actually like collaborated together on like an album and everything. For me, Jack Antonoff is somebody I've known about for a long time through his band Fun and then Bleachers after, and when I was a bit more into them in middle school and everything. And then it wasn't until I got more into music I actually discovered Jack Antonoff produced for a lot of my favorite pop artists and everything. And so with him, he's always been kind of hit or miss with me, where I love some of his production. I feel like he could get a lot out of the artists he works with, but sometimes I feel like when it doesn't hit, it can feel kind of like background music or just kind of like playlist fodder sometimes.
Interesting.
But I've always really been fascinated with Jack Antonoff nonetheless, and I'll always be kind of curious to hear what kind of production he does for an artist that I typically love or I typically don't know.
Yeah.
And then Sounwave is somebody that I've kind of known about for a bit through Kendrick Lamar and everything. He's produced for a bunch of his albums and everything, and he always adds a lot of just great instrumentals, and it seems like he gets a lot out of working with Kendrick a lot of the time. And so, yeah, it was kind of cool to see how the collaborative process would, I guess, work with this album and see if it would maybe be too Jack Antonoff production-wise or like too Sounwave production-wise. But this took me by surprise and everything. I really loved this a lot. I feel like they actually work together, I think, as a pair really well.
Yeah. Let's get into it. Very short, 8 tracks.
Yeah, surprisingly
not a
short.
lot of filler or anything like that. Very to the point. It's self-titled. Not much past this. Really can't recommend it enough. I guess one thing I'll say beforehand is if you haven't heard this, please check it out. This is one of my favorite kind of side projects. And again, like with the last album review we kind of discussed with, I always have a lot of enjoyment with side projects because I feel like you get a unhinged kind of version of your favorite artist.
Right,
because a lot of times the mainstream stuff, it's built on a legacy, and you kind of are meant to kind of uphold that, So if they can kind of step outside of that and be like, no, this is something different, you can see a different side of them,
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, I'll just say straight up, this album feels like 3 friends making music together for the first time.
That's kind of sound like,
Yeah.
It surprisingly sounds like that, yeah.
First track, in my opinion, this is my favorite track, is called Half Love. This song starts with this like sample that's like building, and it's just kind of like something you would hear in maybe like a Bleachers off their Gone Now record. Kind of just keeps repeating. You hear it building. And you don't really know where the song's going to go. Every time I play this, you see people kind of waiting in like anticipation. And then out of nowhere, you hear like this synth sound kind of come in and just sweep the sample and the track in a totally different way. And then the drums and stuff just come in. Very immediately, the vocals come in. You have Samdu singing in this falsetto, high key, which is just like a total opposite to the synths and everything you're hearing. This heavy kind of Moog sound, very Jack Antonoff kind of hitting the Moogs, the Moog keyboards, just super heavy. And then you got like these kind of 808 drums,
Yeah, and they fit really well with the track and everything.
They sound kind of almost like a sample kind of beat, just something that's meant to maybe be like a placeholder. Yet it really, really works. Yeah, right away I was just like, what am I hearing? This is amazing.
Yeah.
The vocal delivery is just perfect. This is a very challenging kind of song, maybe in the vocals, that is just like, what is this? But I feel like the melody very, very much carries the verses, which leads into the amazing part for me is this chorus is just so catchy. Yeah, it just hits you with the vocals of what it's saying. Some of the lyrics at the time for me really felt very kind of poignant. I don't want to say too much in my personal life or anything, but they hit really hard. When the chorus kicks in, has this whole kind of, we're in the modern age, but what if we were real with our love? nowadays with everything that's going on, the way dating is almost kind of like you have to play this game of like you're interested, but you're not fully invested, you know, which is where I feel the term half love kind of comes in. You have those feelings for someone that you very much want to say and do, but because of who the society and everything, you can't fully express that. But the song is very much saying like, you're too good for that. You're past that point in your life where you are open to that kind of half love that people kind of give you, you know, at least that was my interpretation at the time. Mm-hmm. And the whole line, never gonna love another like you, is really, really amazing.
Yeah.
And the delivery of everything, man, this track just is amazing. Wally, what were you thinking with this first one?
It was a surprise for sure. It's a fantastic opener. Yeah. I really loved this opener a lot. I thought the instrumental was just incredible, and the way it was just like building up and everything. That's the thing I kind of loved throughout the album.
Yeah.
But I just love that kind of like great chill vibe that it gives and everything. And God, those falsetto vocals. I've actually never heard of the singer also. Yeah. So, but man, his vocals really are just very soothing and everything for me to listen to. And I just really, really loved this track. It really just gave me a little bit of an idea of like what I was going to be in for with this record and everything. And it also kind of ties into just the record of like love and everything throughout, you know, and how it portrays like kind of relationships and heartbreak. And I really loved it. It's surprisingly kind of relatable when I'm listening and everything.
Definitely. I love the line in the pre-chorus. It's like, because I don't want to waste no time with you, you know? And maybe we're getting to the point in our lives where we kind of want to skip past all that kind of stuff, you know? Like you know how you feel towards someone, and why try to hide that? And the whole line, because everybody's playing it loose. What if we were real with it? Because honestly, I'm just too good for that half love. Man, that just hits so hard. As hard as that chorus is, it's very catchy. And it just sticks in your head. And then the whole echoing of never gonna love another like you, you know, I love that. I love the production in that. The vocals, they just carry this song in such a great way, you know.
Definitely.
And then the second verse comes in, and it's right back into that same groove that you were expecting. I love the little breakdown right before the second verse, like these aggressive keys coming at you with kind of like this fill, you know?
Yeah.
And it just hits in such a great way.
It's like ear candy for me.
Yeah. It's absolutely amazing. Like, again, like it just, for those of you who know Jack Antonoff and everything, it maybe might sound a little familiar and everything, but I feel like we're not fully in his wheelhouse. And I think that's why I love this so much, is it sounds like something he wouldn't normally do.
Yeah, it's definitely like out of his comfort zone for sure, which I also just really love a lot about this.
It sounded like this was a mature step for him to kind of relinquish some of that control, you know, with people he respects, you know.
Yeah.
Anyways, the whole track just kind of goes in that groove and everything. One thing I just want to mention is the bridge. Man, I just love it. The whole echoing of all these different vocal deliveries, you know, there's just grooving. It's just, man, it's so catchy. And you get Sam Dew hitting some crazy like high note kind of fills, you know, and it's just like, whoa, where has this song been all my life?
Yeah.
And then I love the part of the bridge goes back into the chorus. Now we're in a lower register. And it's like as poignant as everything sounds and as hard as it hits in the regular chorus, when he hits this low register, it sounds really personal. And I'm like, wow, that hits me, you know? I love that part. That's like one of my favorite parts of the song, was just like, he's saying like, what if we were real with it? Same chorus. And he's just doing it in this lower register. Man, that just hits so hard. And then it goes right back into it. Same chorus, same vibe and everything. This is an amazing song. This is one that I always play for a bunch of people. Every time I play it, you get a few people who are just like, what is that song? and then before you know it, they add it to their playlist, and before you know it, they're playing it. This is pretty standard for me when I'm DJing and everything, is to throw this song in, and just judging the reaction, like people really, really like this song. But yeah, great first track. Wally, did you have anything else you want to say on the first track?
No, this was just a really just awesome opener. Again, just a big surprise to how the album, just the sound of the album and everything. And then again, just those vocals are just absolutely incredible on this track. It's like he's pouring his heart and soul into it and everything. And I love it very much. I love when singers can do that and they can express that really well.
Yeah, amazing. And then we cut into the second track, Violence. There are probably many songs called Violence. This one is done in a very different way. Very, very dark step downwards.
The change in pace.
Yeah.
Sorry, the change in pace is just like, whoa, what the?
Insane.
Yeah.
It starts out very somber, just very simple, just kind of like keystrokes, just kind of carrying it. And the lyrics and stuff, just, man, they portray this very, very kind of somber, dark feeling that you're having with the music. And then these pre-choruses have like these crazy kind of vocal effects right before you go into the chorus and everything. I really enjoy this track. I enjoyed the dynamic between the first one and this one. It sounded like each song on this album sounds like it was made specifically as we're trying to make each song as good as we can make it, you know?
Yeah.
Which sometimes in albums you don't necessarily get that. Sometimes you get songs that are just kind of like, yeah, I just kind of threw it in there, you know, feels kind of like another one.
Yeah.
Each of these songs have very different feels from each other. Wallied, what were you thinking with Violence?
This one was pretty great. This again, just a big surprise and like the change of pace. I was like, oh, okay, this is like a lot more darker.
Yeah.
At first, I really liked the little synth part, but the little drum thing I wasn't too crazy about. And then once like the chorus and everything just like kicked in, like the transition, I was like, whoa, okay, I love this way more.
Yeah.
That was actually one common thing that I heard throughout this track was just the different beat switches throughout don't feel like forced or anything. They feel very natural to the progression of the track. And I really loved that. And it really kind of puts you in this kind of like roller coaster state that the song puts you in and everything. And then the chorus is just fantastic too. I love the line of the heavy heart still pretends and don't leave out the violence.
Yeah.
It's just like, whoa, wow.
That's great.
I guess I kind of took it as like he's kind of masking these feelings and everything, and he's kind of just putting on this image of like a violent person, I guess. You know? I guess maybe that's a little too literal, but I guess how did you kind of take it?
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
I feel like this song it feels personal. It feels personal to the person singing it. It feels like you want the best. Well, not the best. You want everything. And I think that it comes from a mature place of being in love and feeling those feelings towards someone is, you know what you're going to get. You know there are going to be those bad days and stuff. But very early on to kind of say you want it all shows you how invested you are. You know, this isn't just another fling. This isn't just another, oh, I will see how I feel. You know, this is like, no, like I want it all. Like I want bad times. I want you when you're violent. I want, like, that's a big statement.
Right. Yeah.
I love the whole vocal chorus, the whole step out the shadows, my friend. Your heavy heart still pretends. He like layers like this high falsetto with like this low vocal portrayal. It blends together very well. I know that's something Jack does a lot that he likes to do is like stack vocals, you know, gives a very haunting kind of feel. And again, like Wallied mentioned, at parts in the song, you don't know where it's going to go. Like with that intro and everything, the beats and stuff just take you in so many different directions. Like even the bridge just sounds totally different from the rest of the song. I like the way the bass, the kicks, the hi-hats, everything sounds like it's mixed together very well. Nothing really feels too distracting. Depending on, sometimes it may come off as kind of like noise almost. Yeah. I think that can be a problem sometimes with production and everything, is when we throw a lot of stuff at you, you know.
Right.
Sometimes we can get a little carried away and we can kind of lose track, and it can sound a lot like just kind of noise, and I'm just like,
yeah, it can be kind of overproduced sometimes.
Exactly.
Like,
but this is a great track.
Yeah.
I really like this one. All right. The next one we kick into is the self-titled group name, track, and album.
So Red Hearse by Red Hearse from the album Red Hearse.
Exactly.
Dang, that's a mouthful.
Love this track. This track has this great kind of, I don't know what kind of drums these are. Probably 808s or maybe like a Linn drum or something. Laid back feel of this track at moments, especially with the verses.
Yeah.
Kind of just like this wake up in the midnight, heavy heart, hit another red light, the last flowers at first sight, the first time I saw you gave me half life. And I love the vocal delivery of, you're the only one I really want now. You're the only one to make me slow down. You're the only one to really, and then I just love that kick into the kind of pre-chorus. And it's just like this build of like, I'll be better than I was before, a natural, about to burst out the door, I'll never let you go. Man, this pre-chorus is just so catchy. Every time I hear it, I just find myself kind of grooving with it. And then when you get into the chorus, very simple. I'll dive in it head first, like I'm riding in a red hearse, and it just keeps repeting that. Very great, very great track.
One of my favorite parts of the song for sure.
What were you thinking with the self-titled track?
I really liked this one a lot.
Yeah.
It's not one of my favorites personally from the album, but I did dig some of the beat switches throughout. Some I thought were really cool, and some I was like, that could have been maybe a little bit better. And then I think for me, this is like where I feel like the lyrics really and concepts are kind of showcased on this track. You know, it gives you an idea of like, all right, this is heartbreak, but also a mix of like him finding a new person and a new relationship. And I really, really loved just the chorus on it. Again, that second half was absolutely fantastic and really made me love the track more for sure. But yeah, I was surprised. I really liked this one. Again, kind of the same thing. It was like a bit of like a change of pace from the last track. You know, it felt like a nice kind of like calm after the storm, I guess, for me. Yeah.
I love the line, the last flowers, the first sight. Man, you encompass a lot when you say that. Obviously, first sight when you see someone, and then the last time, you know, with flowers and everything is just very poignant and says a lot. Says a lot with such a simple line. This is a really great track. I love the way it's produced. This has probably Jack's only kind of vocals on the album, if I'm being honest. This, at least for me, this is the only time I heard it.
Oh, really? Okay, I didn't notice it.
In the outro, is very simple. He's just singing, woke up, I'm riding red hearse on the highway. And he's doing it in such a low register. It's just like,
oh, wow. I didn't even recognize that was him. Okay, that's cool.
And I really like that outro. The outro is very like, oh shit.
That's my favorite part of the song for sure. So.
Yeah. But yeah, this is a great track.
Yeah. Red Hearse by Red Hearse by Red Hearse.
Yeah, definitely. All right. We kick into the next track. You Make It Easy. This one kind of almost feels like a blend of maybe the first track and the second track kind of put together. Just like feels a little more hopeful, but also still kind of dark. I like the intro kind of vocals. I like the melody that's kind of carrying you. I think for me, what I like with this one is the guitar in this track really just kind of grooves. I just wish it was maybe, there's a part in this track where there's like a little solo. Just kind of wish it went on for a little longer because, man, the way it mixes in with the drums and everything is very groovy, but it just kind of cuts a little short. Wallied, what were you thinking with You Make It Easy?
I think this might be my favorite track. Nice. I'm not sure though.
Great.
But I love that really groovy beat. You know, it just makes me want to like get up and dance and everything. Yeah. But I love that it's also just kind of like juxtaposed with these lyrics of like heartbreak and him like, I don't know, just like him kind of relating to like his past mistakes and everything like that. That was like a big surprise and everything. And I really dug it a lot. I was just like, this is probably like one of the catchiest songs on the record for me.
I like the whole line in the intro of you're alone, you're the one to blame of why you're alone, but you're waiting by your phone for a voice on the line saying, I cannot sleep tonight. that's that's a very great line. And for those of you who have been in those situations, it's a very real moment, you know, where you're kind of in this self-sabotage kind of place, you know, you kind of put yourself there. Granted, it wasn't entirely you, but you kind of take acknowledgement that you had a part in that. And now that you're at your lowest point, you're kind of holding out for a lifeline. You know, you're just wishing that, please, can someone say something, you know?
Yeah. It's like call for help.
Exactly.
It's just like, oh my gosh, you know?
And I love the chorus, like the vocals, the whole "you make it easy" thing. It's just really cool. Really just kind of goes up super high and then comes down, you know, and it's just very brave to kind of do that with vocal delivery.
He has a great vocal range, especially, and it showcases it really well on this track too. Hence probably also being one of my favorites.
Yeah. And it just shows like how far down he is, you know, like with the second verse, he'd rather be a prisoner, you know, than waiting for your touch. I don't need much, you know, like he's at a low point, but this other person can make it easier, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Really great track. I love the guitar in this. I just wish maybe I just had a little more room to shine.
Yeah. I was kind of surprised. It is a pretty short album and everything. A lot of the tracks are like 2.5 minutes to like 3 minutes and 45 seconds.
Definitely.
So, yeah.
Overall, I guess that's good. You know, you leave me wanting more and stuff, but I do find myself repeating this one kind of a bit just because when it ends, I'm like, man, I just need a little bit more.
Right. Yeah.
But a great track overall. All right. Next track, Honey. This was one of the singles as well.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Man, this is so different. When you hear Half Love, which was one of the singles, I believe this was the second one, and then Red Hearse was the third one. I remember hearing all three, and I'm just like, I have no idea what I'm in for when this thing actually comes out. This one's very different, very kind of slow, the production just switches up on you, and the delivery of everything is just drastically changed that you're just like, is this the same project, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Wallied, what were you thinking with Honey?
So this is tied with the last track for being my favorite, actually.
Nice.
I love that like smooth R&B kind of style track that it goes for. I love that laid back vibe and everything. And then I just love like just the kind of flirtatious lyrics. It's like almost like he's experiencing love again for the first time, especially from like everything you've heard throughout the album. And I loved that, no pun intended, that whole like change of pace again and everything. And it was like a nice like happy track for once, you know?
Really though. And I just love how laid back the chorus is. It's such a brave stylistic kind of choice to have the whole whatever you're serving, you know, you got me swerving, that whole kind of we move slow like honey. It's just like after you hear it, you're just like, wow, it's
honey to my ears.
Yeah. No,
I love this.
I love this one. This is a great one. And again, I love how diverse each track feels like, especially after those first four. When you get into this one, it's still just surprising you. You're just like, I'm more than halfway in, and anything's up at this point. They could literally do anything.
Right. Yeah. Which is like, wow.
Which is how you want to feel. I don't like it when I get to half points in albums and I'm like, all right, we're doing the same thing, you know, regurgitating a little bit. But yeah, this is a great track.
Kind of just keeps you on your toes throughout, which I really appreciate about the album and everything.
Yeah. All right. Next one. One of my personal favorites. I think this could be tied for me with Half Love.
Okay. Nice.
Everybody Wants You. I'm a sucker for kind of love statements and tracks like that where they think of those oh duh kind of feelings of like, well, oh duh, like we've all felt this before. Like now I'm hearing it kind of vocalized by someone, and it's just like, wow, that's great.
Yeah.
And I love the build on this track. It builds in such a great way. The whole intro sounds very sad, you know, just like seems like every time I'm close, you turn away. Seems like all of a sudden everybody gives on you. But I've been on you for a long time. There's a lot around the block to get inside your head. Wow, that's great. As much as I love that first verse, it just keeps building and it keeps picking up. I love the last delivery of "'Cause Everybody Wants You," and then it gets into the pre-chorus. "Touch you like I mean it. Tell you all my secrets. I could keep you dancing. I'm not the romantic type. What can I do? It's love and I got to prove. But baby, what's the use? 'Cause everybody wants you." Right when it starts to build, I'm a sucker for stacked vocals. I don't know what it is. It just sounds epic. And I love how it comes in almost like a chorus, just like all these people just singing together, or choir, sorry. And it's just like all of them harmonizing, and it's just like that catchy melody, and it's just so simple. And like, again, that feeling of like, I've felt this before. We've all felt this of everybody wants you, Right. Yeah. Wallied, what were you thinking with this track?
This one I really liked a lot. It was kind of surprising to hear kind of like a ballad kind of love song on the album and everything. And just lyrically too, I was just like, wow, I really dug the slow vibe. And I was like, this guy, I'm like, man, I kind of feel bad for him. Like, he's got to find some other fish or something, I'm like, this poor guy. But no, I really liked this. I liked the sound of this very much. This is definitely one I could see myself going back to maybe more and more in the future. But yeah, I really dug the kind of the slow vibe of it for sure. But it did feel a little jarring just from going to like the honey track and like going to this. So I was like, yeah, but I liked it. I did really like it overall.
I love the vocals and everything. And then when the drums and stuff kind of kick in, still very laid back, but it adds a nice kind of glue to everything that you were hearing. And I just love the melody. It just carries you, that whole build of what can I do? It's love and I got to prove. I just love the build up, touch you like I mean it, tell you all my secrets. I could take you dancing. I'm not the romantic type. It's great.
Yeah.
And I love the idea of, come on, we've all felt that way towards someone. You catch eyes for this one person, but you're not the only one. Everyone. And that's such a great line. Everybody wants you. It's like, we've all been in those situations where you have that important person and you have all these feelings, yet so many other people have felt that way before. And that's a great statement to kind of say of like,
and it's super relatable, surprisingly,
so relatable,
too. It's just like, wow, he really articulates it like very well and everything.
Such a great track. All right. Next one, Born to Bleed. This one's great. I don't know, for me, I really like this one. I love the simple start. The drums kind of come in right away. And I love the delivery. Falsetto again. Love how my life turns on me. My heaven keeps hell right underneath. Great. Just great track. I guess the only thing I would say that I wish it gets kind of repetitive more towards the end. Do kind of wish maybe they kind of switched it up. Maybe somehow with like the drum beat or the production or whatever. But I still really enjoy this track and I love the chorus.
Nice.
Very catchy. What were you thinking with this one?
Yeah, this is kind of another one of my favorites personally. I just really love the instrumental. I think lyrically it's really great. He's kind of just like learning to like kind of move on and not like give up on love, not to be in that hopeless kind of romantic kind of style or whatever. It's just a surprisingly hopeful track all around. And I really just felt really like uplifting listening to it and everything. And I just really loved the vibes on this one all around.
And it's a great statement and it's a great point when you get to that place where past breakups and everything, you feel indestructible. You've been through the worst. You've been through the worst of it all. You've experienced the darkest sides of life. And it's like past that point, you're just like, what else can really hurt me?
Right, yeah.
Which is a great place to be in. And to feel that way, you're almost just like,
you have this thick skin.
Like, I've been through it all.
It's a great feeling. Yeah.
And I love that chorus of you keep coming and I want to crash. I was born to bleed. I think that's why he states that line kind of over and over. It's just like, that's why we're here.
Yeah. It's just like a hopeful thing that you have to keep repeating to yourself, even through like the dark times and everything.
Definitely the bridge does get a little somber with the whole, no matter what you do to me, I keep coming back. It's almost like why are you going back?
It's toxic relationship type of thing, man.
But who knows? Still a really, really great track. And in terms of relationships and things like that, it's a place where you want to get to.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we get to the closer on this, Blessin Me. Probably not one of my favorites on the track.
Bless you.
But it's still really cool. I still love the vibe from this one. Again, you're at the final track and it switches it up. I just will say some of the melodies don't quite hit with me as hard. I guess I will say the chorus does hit really good, but the verses and everything with the whole I won't be waiting.
I thought that was all right. Yeah.
It was okay, but I was just like, maybe we could have found something a little bit better there. What were you thinking with this?
Yeah, I liked it. It was a nice little bow tie on everything you've listened to. Not one of my personal favorites, but I did really like it. Some of the I's were kind of a little annoying, and the chorus definitely could have hit a lot harder compared to a lot of the other choruses on the record. I did really dig the instrumental though. That had a nice, really fitting end to the album and everything like that. So yeah, it's just a pretty solid closer. Not one of my favorites, though.
No, definitely. I just feel like maybe just a little more time in the kitchen with this one. They could have hit on something really good. But it's no disservice to the song. This really, as a whole, works really, really well. I don't skip this track even when I listen to it. I kind of listen to this album probably because it's so short. I just kind of start it. And
I know it's kind of something you could just it's under 30 minutes, which is a big surprise. So I was like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's not a big commitment at all. So yeah, by the time this track kind of finished, I was like, that was good.
Yeah, short and sweet and simple. Yeah,
this whole project is just these three artists together. They all have other projects that maybe are bigger than them, but to me, it doesn't matter. This still is unlike anything I've ever heard. I have been anticipating some type of follow-up in any kind of way. There's never been any mention of it. They went on such a really small tour with this project. Played a few shows, and their setup was really cool. If you guys are interested, check out videos. It's literally three of them just sitting at a table, and they're just kind of performing the whole record, kind of going in and out with keyboard, very laid back, which is kind of the feel of this record. I would like to see them come back and maybe do something a bit more showy. Maybe
a bit more theatrical would be really cool.
Get in some crazy kind of production and stuff and just really let it work, because I feel like the formula they hit on with the vocal deliveries can really just kind of carry you through anything.
Something that I think could be cool maybe for a future Red Hearse record is maybe Jack Antonoff maybe doing a bit more vocals and kind of seeing their dynamic and how they can maybe play off.
That'd be really great.
I think that could be really interesting.
It's such a overlooked project for me personally. I just feel like every time I recommend it, it just sucks that people haven't heard of this. And
I'm surprised it's not more popular, because again, Jack Antonoff and Sounwave are some of the biggest producers working today. So it's oh, wow.
It's really just kind of a hidden gem for me. I recommend it to so many people. I'm so glad that you enjoyed it.
This was a big surprise. I really loved this a lot. A lot of really good songs on there, and definitely ones I'm excited to come back to and everything.
If you haven't heard this project, I guess 3 songs that I'd just recommend off the top of my head. Half Love, first and foremost, just put that on, please, and then listen to it. Let that melody get stuck in your head, because if it doesn't, then that's kind of crazy.
Not sure what to tell you.
Second track I'd recommend, Everybody Wants You. Great vocal deliveries, great kind of builds, very kind of somber but poignant at the same time. Gets across a lot in the vocals. And then the last one I'd recommend is I'll throw Honey in there. Honey's a really cool track to kind of mix it up. I know those are all kind of singles, so kind of listening to it in the same way that I did, but check them out. Wallied, what tracks would you recommend off this?
Sick. Definitely Violence for sure, for an album, deep cut. Really great. Gives you an idea of everything you're kind of in for with the album, and it gives you a nice different tone to everything you're listening to. And then I would definitely say Honey, one of my personal favorites that I loved. And then Born to Bleed, I'll say, is another
Nice.
great recommendation for you guys to check out. Another album cut and everything. But yeah, I think those definitely give you an idea of like what you're going to be in for with the record.
Yeah, this was an important record for me. I really can't hype it up enough.
Absolutely.
Please check it out. I would love to see more listeners with this project, because then maybe we could get a second kind of
another Red
go
Hearse
around. Like, please, I need more from this group. Every time I listen to this, I'm like, how is this the only thing in the last 6 years?
It's
we
crazy.
need more.
That's how I feel with a lot of my favorite side projects. I'm like, hurry up, please.
Exactly.
We need a new...
Little fun fact for me. There was a nice little nod, but not really in the same way, on Kendrick Lamar's GNX record. All three of these guys are actually credited on Dodger Blue.
Oh, that's cool.
So
nice.
It was kind of, and when you listen to Dodger Blue, it does feel very Red Hearse kind of vibe, you know?
So Red Hearse featuring Kendrick.
Yeah. And that's why
cool.
I love that track. I adore that track. And I'm like, man, this is it. And I need more.
Yeah.
These guys have still obviously been collaborating for such a long time.
They'll come back at some point.
Yeah. I just hope they
be like a boy genius.
Yeah. I just hope they return and they just blow my mind again, because this is a great little side project. And yeah, check it out if you guys haven't heard it. It really went under the radar for a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Cool.
All right. That's it for this one. We'll see you on the next one.
All right. Good day and good night, mates.